Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to work on week 17 of my 2022 Project Life album. I have got a bunch of the Life Right Now collection from Pinkfresh Studio. It's been sitting on my desk for a couple of days, so I decided to use it for this particular week. The week's photos are they're a little bit on the dark side. I just kind of have to accept that that's how life is going to be for the next couple of months and just get over that. I kind of want to try and balance some of that out with some kind of lighter, brighter, and a little bit more colorful patterns. So I started by going through some of the scraps that I already have from this 6x6 paper pad. I pulled out a few, and I don't know that I'm going to end up using any of them actually. I'm going to go back through and pull out a few kind of patterns like this particular one. This was a screenshot from my last Patreon sort of crafty catch up. And I just wanted something a little bit lighter and brighter, and I loved some of the wording on these. It was sort of like perfect for this kind of online catch up. So I've trimmed that down. I was trying to trim it so that the repetition of words wasn't kind of top and bottom of my photo, and there wasn't really any way to crop it at 4 inches to avoid that. So in the end, although I'm gonna prefer to have my photo centered on that pattern paper, I'm gonna offset it a little bit towards the top just so that I don't have that kind of repetition quite as obvious on here. Now I also trimmed out, I love the 12 by 12 of this pattern with all of these words on it. The 6x6 is a little bit harder for me to use because I'm never going to be able to trim it for any of my projects for it to make sense. So in the end I decided to just trim out the words and kind of fussy cut them so it looks like more of a little embellishment rather than a bit of paper. And I did save you from having to watch all of that. I started out by kind of just trimming it really simply as a rectangle, but it didn't feel particularly like a die cut to me when it was like that. So I decided in the end to go a little bit further and kind of dig in around those letters just a little bit more, kind of make it feel a little bit more like a die cut rather than just a cut out rectangle. Now I've left a 4x6 space this week for my journaling, mainly because I didn't have a whole lot of horizontal photos. So I've just gone and typed that out on my typewriter, just on some kind of scrap cardstock, some white again. I'm hoping to make this kind of a little bit lighter and brighter, so although I love the patterns and the colors in them, I don't want to have to try to type my journaling over some of those busier patterns. So I'm going to lay that white cardstock over some and kind of make my own little journal card. Now, just coincidentally, the 2 square photos that I've printed this week, they're roughly 2¼ inches square, which actually worked out quite perfect for some of these chipboard frames. And I do love these chipboard frames because they're not super thick. I'm big into thin chipboard, and this is one of those times. Super thin chipboard, and it's like white. It's not that kind of chipboardy color. So my favorite, especially on a Project Life layout like this, but also in my traveler's notebooks, I don't mind adding a little bit of chipboard when it is this thin type rather than that really big fat kind of browny gray chipboard like crepe paper uses. So I did end up adding 2 frames. One of them I did have to dig a little divot out of my photo, but I also really loved the kind of blue of this other frame. It kind of like heralds back to the other blue paper, but it didn't really work on any of the kind of pattern papers that I have already pulled out. So I'm going to go back into that paper pad. I mean, the photo is of some amazing food from this new bakery that's opened up not far from my house, and a cup of coffee. So there's plenty of papers in this collection that are perfect for that kind of thing. This one is one of them. It's this really pretty pink and red. I love that color combo. But I had sort of pulled out this citrony yellow, greeny coloured word paper for my bottom 4x6. And just with all of the patterns going on, it was a little bit too much, especially when I swapped out to that pink and red. So I've decided to just flip it over, and I'm going to use the little arrows instead. It's a little bit more of a kind of subtler pattern, which I feel like I'm more drawn to when I've got busy dark photos like this. So I do love kind of all of the the B sides of the Pinkfresh Studio papers. I end up using them a lot. It did need a little bit more kind of contrast with my white cardstock that my typing's on. So I just mounted that on some of that bright yellow paper, and there was a little bit of a kind of blank space at the bottom. So I've added one of those puffy stickers that just says life right now. So I did kind of get a little bit of that citrony green in there. Decided that since I got the puffy stickers out, I'm going to try to avoid like hoarding them as much as I like to. And I've got that fake die cut that I kind of cut out, and then I've added that life right now. So they're kind of like wordy embellishments. So I decided to add the third one that says okay. I think it says I'm doing just fine on my photo of Lil, who again wasn't doing so well, but then it slowly got better. And so I thought it worked nicely having those three there. And then I just kept going. I kept going with the puffy stickers. So I added one to all of my little 3x4 cards. And then I stopped because I thought, oh, I haven't even looked at the die cuts yet. So I haven't even pulled out any of the die cuts. I made my own with that pattern paper, but I haven't actually looked through the die cut pack that I've got. So I'm going to have a quick look through here, pull out a few that I think might work. Some of them I'm adding more for context, and some of them it's more just kind of to add a little bit of color. The top photo that's hanging off the top of the screen here was this sort of amazing light installation. We took Jack to the museum while he was here, and they had this amazing light sort of, yeah, it blew my mind. Poor little Jack didn't enjoy it at all, screamed until we let him out. So that's me on my own in there, despite the fact that I went with 2 other people. I thought it was amazing, took a bunch of photos, and so I'm just going to add a little bit of a die cut up here. I don't want to add too much, but it kind of just highlights the color in the photo. Now the last thing I've got to do is work on my title card. And while I had originally pulled out that kind of rainbow stripe paper, because when am I ever going to look past a rainbow stripe paper? I'm not. Well, I am today, because once I've put all the rest of this page together, it was kind of like a lot. And so I wanted my title card to be a little bit more on the simpler side. When I was going through that die cut pack, I found this really cute little shelf die cut, which it has no real kind of relevance to the photos or the stories or anything in this week, but I just kind of like it, and so I'm going to use it. I'm going to just create a little cluster around my week title, and I'm going to use that kind of shelf as a reference for that. So I'm going to stamp my week numbers with the lunar numbers from Citrus Twist. I decided to stamp in black, but I decided to also be a little bit more subtle with that black, so I'm just going to use the outline version. Originally I had thought that I might hand stitch the numbers, but honestly I've just run out of steam, so the stamping was it, and the outline I probably didn't lose that much as far as the layout goes without adding the hand stitching, because like I said, I've already added kind of a lot to this layout anyway. So I've gotten smart, and I added my die cut with some temporary adhesive, not because I had planned on moving it, but I accidentally did the right thing there, because I am going to have to move it up just a little bit. I grabbed these black foam alphas from Citrus Twist, and because of where I've put the die cut down, I sort of aligned it to the bottom of my stamping, or I aligned my stamping to the bottom of the shelf. And then I didn't really have anywhere to put that word in, so I've just moved the shelf up so that I could tuck the word week underneath. And then I'm going to add a little label to add my date stamping, and I just wasn't, again, sure where I was going to put that. I decided to tuck it in underneath, rather than you can see me adding all of these kind of different placements off to the side. I decided to add it underneath the words, underneath the actual die cut there, to kind of make it part of the cluster rather than something separate to it. For me, it kind of simplifies the card a little bit, because I've just got that one cluster on there rather than filling up the entirety of the card, just keeping it a little bit more simple so that it works with the rest of my quite busy layout. I realized I had forgotten to glue down one of the little die cuts there, but apart from that, I'm all done. I really love this collection. For me, it seems perfect for project life, and it worked really well this week, so I am super happy. I got a whole lot more of it to use. Hey, thanks for joining me today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye.